Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be exploring something called Anthroposophy.
Oh, wow.
Have you heard of this?
I have.
Really?
I have heard of Anthroposophy.
Okay, great. So you're going to be able to, keep me honest here because I don't know much about this at all.
All right, I'll do my best.
Okay, perfect.
I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to learn.
Yeah.
So Anthroposophy, it's a spiritual philosophy developed by this guy, Rudolf Steiner, in the early 20th century.
Yes, that's right.
And our main source material is an article from the Spiritual Seek website titled Anthroposophy, an exploration of Rudolf Steiner's spiritual philosophy.
Okay.
And so, get this, this guy Steiner, he proposed a method for studying spiritual realities. He called it spiritual science.
Yeah, it's very intriguing.
Okay, so we're going to get into all that, what that even means and how you study that and stuff.
Yeah.
We're also going to be talking about things like how concepts like reincarnation and karma inform ethical living within anthroposophy, and even explore Steiner's unique model for a harmonious society called the threefold social order.
Interesting.
And then plus we'll touch on something that you might already be familiar with, Waldorf education.
Yeah, I am familiar with Waldorf education.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of like this globally recognized alternative approach to education. So we'll see how all of that ties in.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that anthroposophy isn't just a set of beliefs. It's really presented as a pathway to knowledge of spiritual science.
Spiritual science.
Yeah.
I have to admit that sounds kind of like mixing oil and water to me. How can something be both spiritual and scientific?
It's a very good question.
Yeah.
How
do those two things go together?
It's not, you think of maybe science as very material,
right?
Very much based on the material world, and spirituality is kind of the opposite of that.
Right, exactly.
But think about it this way. Just as we have methods for studying the physical world, like observing a chemical reaction under a microscope, Steiner proposed that we could develop equally rigorous approaches to exploring spiritual realities. So it's not just about intuition or feeling, it's about actually applying a very specific method, a very specific way of researching the spiritual world.
Wow, so it's about applying a scientific mindset to spiritual exploration.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay.
He advocated for techniques like meditation and intense self-reflection, suggesting that these practices could lead to genuine insights and not just wishful thinking.
Okay, so you're not just making stuff up.
Exactly. You're not just making it up. You're actually really doing the work and the research.
Interesting. Okay, so before we go any further with this whole spiritual science thing, I think we should probably get to know the guy behind all this.
Yeah.
Rudolf Steiner.
Yes.
Who is this guy?
So Rudolf Steiner, he was a fascinating figure, born in 1861, and he was really deeply influenced by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the famous German writer and thinker.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, Goethe had this idea of interconnectedness between humanity and nature, and this really permeated Steiner's thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just theoretical for him, though.
No, not at all. He was all about putting these ideas into practice in the real world.
Interesting.
He founded the first Waldorf school, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
And he even developed a unique movement art form called eurythmy.
Eurythmy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to get into that, too.
Absolutely.
Oh.
And it's important to remember the historical backdrop here.
Okay.
Steiner was developing these ideas in early 20th century Europe, a time of immense upheaval and disillusionment following World War I.
Right.
People were grappling with loss and searching for meaning, and his ideas resonated with many who were yearning for a more holistic and spiritual understanding of the world.
It makes sense that, when the world feels like it's falling apart, people would want to find something
absolutely
to, hold on to something.
Yeah.
Meaning...
For sure.
Okay, so with that kind of historical context in mind, let's dive into some of the key principles of anthroposophy.
Okay.
Starting with these two, really intertwined concepts, reincarnation and karma.
Yeah, these are big ones.
Yeah.
Now, you've probably heard these terms before, maybe in a yoga class or a philosophy discussion, but they take on a particular significance in anthroposophy.
Okay.
Steiner saw reincarnation and karma as fundamental to human evolution and ethical development.
Okay.
He proposed that we experience multiple lifetimes, each offering a chance for learning and growth.
So it's not just about being a good person in this life.
Right.
So you don't have bad karma in the next life.
Exactly. It's much bigger than that.
It's a bigger idea.
It is.
Okay.
Imagine it this way. You carry the weight of your choices across lifetimes.
Whoa.
Each action, every decision you make shapes not only your present, but also echoes into your future, perhaps even across multiple lifetimes.
Wow.
That's karma. It encourages us to think about the consequences of our actions on a much grander scale.
That's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It is.
To be honest, it definitely adds like a whole new layer of responsibility to like my everyday choices.
It does.
But I'm also curious about how these ideas translate into Steiner's vision for a better society, the threefold social order.
Okay.
What is that all about?
So the threefold social order, Steiner envisioned a society where the cultural, political, and economic spheres operate autonomously, yet in harmony. He argued that when any one of these spheres dominates, it throws things out of whack, leading to problems for individuals and society as a whole.
So it's like a three-legged stool. You need all three legs to be strong and balanced for it to work.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
Okay.
Yeah. So take the cultural sphere, for example.
Okay.
This includes education, the arts, spirituality.
Okay.
Steiner believed that this sphere should be free from political or economic interference. He argued that genuine creativity and spiritual development could only flourish in an environment of freedom.
So you're not like forcing artists to create propaganda.
Right.
Or pressuring schools to like churn out workers for specific industries.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does Waldorf education fit into all of this?
So Waldorf education is really the embodiment of this idea.
Okay.
It aims to nurture the whole child, their creativity, imagination, and love for learning, not just prepare them for a job.
Okay.
Waldorf schools weave music, movement, storytelling, and hands-on activities into all aspects of the curriculum, fostering a really holistic understanding of the world.
It sounds like a much more engaging and meaningful way to learn than just like sitting in a classroom memorizing facts and stuff.
It is. It really is.
Cool.
Yeah. And while Waldorf schools might prioritize different skills and approaches, they don't neglect academics.
Okay.
Waldorf graduates actually tend to excel in areas that require critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity.
So it's not a case of either. It's like a both hand.
Yeah. It's about finding a better, more holistic both hand approach to education.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
What about the other two legs of this stool?
Yeah.
The political and economic spheres.
Okay.
How did Steiner envision them working within the threefold social order?
So in the political sphere, Steiner advocated for individual rights, democratic principles, and a focus on justice.
Okay.
He believed that the political system should create the conditions for individual freedom and social responsibility to flourish.
Okay, so it's about like empowering individuals.
Yes.
To participate in shaping their society.
Exactly.
Not just like blindly following orders.
Exactly.
Okay. And what about the economic sphere?
Okay.
Did he have any radical ideas about restructuring the entire economic system?
You know, he didn't prescribe a particular economic system like strict capitalism or socialism.
Okay.
He was more focused on ethical principles to guide economic activity.
Okay.
Think fairness, cooperation, and sustainability. He believed that the economy should serve both individuals and the community as a whole, not just chase profits at all costs.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was trying to move beyond those rigid ideological boxes.
Yeah.
And focus on like core values.
Exactly.
To guide economic activity in a more humane and sustainable direction.
Yeah, you got it. He saw the potential for the economic sphere to contribute to the well-being of everyone, not just the select few.
This threefold social order, it's a pretty bold idea.
It is.
And it seems like it's more relevant than ever today as we grapple with issues like inequality,
For sure.
environmental destruction,
Yeah.
the erosion of trust in institutions. It seems like Steiner was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, he was thinking in very innovative ways.
He didn't just theorize about social change, did he?
Yeah.
He also tried to put these ideas into practice in other areas, like with agriculture.
Yeah.
With something called biodynamic farming.
That's right. Biodynamic farming is a direct outgrowth of Steiner's anthroposophical principles. It takes a completely different approach to agriculture, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all life and the importance of working in harmony with nature.
So it's about more than just like ditching the chemical pesticides and herbicides.
It is much more.
Okay.
Biodynamic farming treats the entire farm as a living organism, a complex ecosystem that needs to be balanced and nurtured.
Wow.
They even use special preparations made from herbs and minerals to enhance soil fertility and plant health, and pay attention to cosmic rhythms like lunar cycles, believing that these affect plant growth.
Wow. So it's like a blend of like ancient wisdom,
Yes.
ecological principles, and this unique anthroposophical perspective.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating how Steiner, took these core ideas and applied them to so many different aspects of life.
It's pretty incredible.
And we haven't even touched on everything yet.
Yeah.
Steiner also saw the arts as crucial for human development, not just like something for entertainment or decoration.
Right.
He believed that artistic expression could connect us to deeper truths about ourselves and the world around us. And this is why the arts play such a central role in Waldorf education.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about the whole human being.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this ties into, like we were saying before, about not just being focused on, like, the economic side of things.
Right.
But thinking about the whole child.
The whole person.
The whole person.
Right.
And how creativity can help us understand ourselves better.
Did Steiner's ideas make their way into healthcare too?
They did.
Okay.
Anthroposophical medicine emerged from Steiner's work.
Okay.
It's an integrative approach to healthcare that sees illness as a disruption in the balance between our physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions.
So instead of just masking symptoms,
Right.
it's about understanding the root causes of the illness and addressing those holistically.
Precisely. Anthroposophical doctors use conventional medical treatments alongside therapies like art therapy, massage, and eurythmy to support the whole person on their healing journey.
That seems to resonate with the growing interest in integrative medicine these days.
Yeah.
More and more people are looking for approaches that address not just their physical bodies, but their emotional and spiritual well-being too.
For sure. It's an acknowledgement that we're complex beings and true healing must encompass all facets of ourselves.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground so far.
We have.
From spiritual science and reincarnation to biodynamic farming and the threefold social order.
Yeah.
It's clear that anthroposophy is a really rich
It is.
and a complex system of thought that's had a significant impact on so many different fields. But like any philosophy, it's had its share of criticism.
Of course.
And controversy too, right?
Yes. Some critics question the lack of empirical evidence for certain spiritual claims. Others are wary of certain interpretations of Steiner's writings that they feel could be misused to support discrimination.
It's important to acknowledge those criticisms.
Absolutely.
And engage with them thoughtfully.
Yes.
No philosophy is immune to scrutiny.
Right.
And anthroposophy is no exception.
For sure.
But even with these controversies, many people continue to find value in Steiner's ideas, particularly his emphasis on holistic thinking, sustainability, and spiritual awareness.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating to see how those ideas are reflected in contemporary movements focused on things like mindfulness, ecological living, and social justice.
Yeah.
Even amidst its complexities, anthroposophy clearly still has something relevant to offer as we navigate the 21st century.
This has been a real eye-opener.
Yeah.
I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. But it's clear that anthroposophy is a philosophy that really invites us to think differently about ourselves, the world, and our place in the universe.
What strikes me is how anthroposophy prompts us to consider the deeper meaning behind our actions, relationships, and even our entire lives.
Yeah.
It's a powerful call to step back from the everyday hustle and think about the bigger picture.
That's a pretty compelling invitation.
It is.
Wouldn't you say? Especially in a world that often feels so fragmented and disconnected.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up part 1 of this deep dive into anthroposophy, I want to leave you with a question to ponder.
All right.
If we really took to heart this idea that our actions have consequences, not just in this life, but across multiple lifetimes, how might that change our perspective on personal responsibility and the long-term impact of our choices?
It's something to really chew on, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, we'll dive deeper into the implications of this idea in part 2.
Join us next time as we continue our deep dive into the world of anthroposophy.
Welcome back to our deep dive into anthroposophy.
I'm ready to dive back in. I feel like last time we only just kind of dipped our toes in the water.
Just scratched the surface.
Yeah. And there's so much to explore.
There is. In part 1, we explored the historical context, key principles and practical applications of this fascinating spiritual philosophy.
Yeah.
Now let's delve a little deeper into some of the nuances and implications of these ideas.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
You know that idea of spiritual science we talked about?
Yeah.
It's really stuck with me.
Okay.
It's both intriguing and kind of mind-bending. How do you reconcile the subjective nature of spirituality with the rigorous methodology of science? It seems almost paradoxical.
It's a question that has captivated many who encounter anthroposophy.
Yeah.
Steiner proposed that just as we investigate the physical world, think telescopes and lab experiments, we can develop systematic approaches to study spiritual realities too. He wasn't advocating for blind faith. He believed that through practices like disciplined self-observation, meditation, and in-depth study, we could gain verifiable insights into the spiritual realm.
So it's not about throwing logic out the window.
Oh, no.
It's more about broadening our understanding of what constitutes knowledge.
Exactly.
Recognizing that there might be dimensions of reality that require different tools for exploration.
Yes.
Almost like needing an X-ray to see inside the human body.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And it's important to note that Steiner didn't see spiritual science as separate from or in opposition to conventional science.
Okay.
He believed they could complement each other, offering a more complete and nuanced understanding of reality.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about embracing a more integrated and comprehensive perspective.
Exactly.
But this brings up another question for me. If spiritual science aims to gain verifiable insights, how do you determine what's verifiable in the spiritual realm? It seems like it would be inherently subjective with no concrete proof.
It's a valid concern, and Steiner addressed it head-on.
Okay.
He emphasized that spiritual insights gained through these practices should be tested and refined through continuous self-reflection and open dialogue with others. Think of it like peer review in scientific research, but in this case, it's with fellow spiritual explorers.
So you're not just like off in your own little bubble.
Yeah, right.
You're actively engaging with the community.
Yes.
Sharing your insights and testing them against the experiences of others.
Exactly. And this highlights the importance of community in anthroposophy.
Okay.
Steiner believed that spiritual development wasn't a solo mission. It blossomed most effectively within a supportive community where individuals could share their insights, challenge each other's assumptions, and learn from one another's unique journeys.
So collaboration is key, not just in like the exploration itself, but also in ensuring the validity of those insights.
Precisely, Steiner considered dialogue essential for refining our understanding of spiritual truths. He believed that through open and honest conversation, we could help each other identify our blind spots, sharpen our thinking, and arrive at a more comprehensive understanding of the spiritual world.
You know, it's interesting how this idea of community seems to be woven through so many aspects of anthroposophy.
Yes.
We see it in Waldorf education, with its emphasis on collaborative learning and social responsibility. We see it in biodynamic farming, which often involves cooperative networks. And we see it in the anthroposophical approach to healthcare, which stresses the importance of the patient-doctor relationship and community support.
That's a keen observation. It underscores how anthroposophy isn't just an abstract philosophy. It's meant to be lived and embodied in our relationships, our work, and our communities.
Yeah, it's about bridging the gap between theory and practice, between individual growth and creating positive change in the world. But let's circle back to this idea of spiritual insight.
Right.
What are some examples of the kinds of insights people might gain through this process of spiritual science?
So Steiner talked about developing a deeper understanding of concepts like reincarnation and karma, which we discussed earlier. He believed that through dedicated self-observation and reflection, we could start to perceive the connections between our past actions and our present experiences, recognizing patterns and connections that might otherwise remain hidden.
So it's about developing a more nuanced understanding of cause and effect.
Yes.
Not just within this lifetime, but across multiple lifetimes.
Exactly.
That's a pretty profound shift in perspective.
It is, and it can have a significant impact on how we live our lives, how we relate to others, and the choices we make. If we start to see ourselves as part of a larger spiritual journey, our actions take on a new depth, and meaning we become more conscious of the ripple effects of our choices, not just for ourselves, but for others and the world around us.
Yeah, it expands our sense of responsibility. Recognizing that we're not just isolated individuals making choices. Our actions create ripples that impact the world around us and shape our future in ways we might not even fully comprehend in the moment.
Exactly. And this leads us to another important aspect of anthroposophy, the development of what Steiner referred to as higher faculties or spiritual senses. He believed that through dedicated inner work, we could cultivate these faculties, which would allow us to perceive spiritual realities more directly.
This sounds a bit like those ideas of clairvoyance or psychic abilities,
Yeah.
often discussed in esoteric traditions.
Right.
Is that what Steiner was getting at?
It's not about developing supernatural powers like predicting the future or
Right.
reading minds.
Okay.
He was describing a process of inner transformation where we refine our perception and become more sensitive to subtle dimensions of reality. He believed these higher faculties were latent within all humans and could be awakened through specific practices and disciplines.
So it's less about acquiring something external or magical,
Yes.
and more about cultivating our innate potential, opening ourselves to new ways of seeing and understanding the world.
Precisely. And these higher faculties wouldn't just be for personal gain. Steiner believed they would enable us to contribute more meaningfully to the world, to act with greater wisdom and compassion, and to help guide humanity toward a more just and sustainable future.
That's a pretty inspiring vision.
Yeah.
It suggests that spiritual development isn't just about individual enlightenment.
Right.
It's about becoming more effective agents of positive change.
That's a core principle of anthroposophy. Steiner believed that as we evolve spiritually, we become more capable of contributing to the well-being of others and the evolution of consciousness as a whole.
It's a beautiful idea, but it also raises some important questions. How do we ensure that these higher faculties are used ethically and responsibly?
Yeah.
What's to prevent them from being misused or manipulated?
Those are critical questions, and they underscore the importance of ongoing self-reflection, ethical discernment, and accountability within the anthroposophical community. Steiner stressed that spiritual development should go hand in hand with moral development. He saw love, compassion, and a commitment to justice as essential qualities for anyone seeking to cultivate higher faculties.
So it's not just about developing spiritual powers. It's about cultivating the wisdom and integrity
Yes.
to use those powers for the benefit of all.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the crucial role of community and dialogue.
Why?
We need each other to help us stay grounded, to challenge our assumptions, and to hold each other accountable. Spiritual development isn't a solitary pursuit. It's a collective journey that requires mutual support, honest feedback, and a shared commitment to ethical living.
This has been a truly fascinating exploration of the concept of spiritual science. We've seen how it challenges us to expand our understanding of knowledge, to cultivate our inner potential, and to use our insights for the betterment of humanity.
And we've only just scratched the surface of anthroposophy.
Yeah, I feel like we've barely even,
Yeah.
gotten into it.
We've just started.
Yeah.
In part 3 of our deep dive, we'll shift gears and explore some of the practical applications of these ideas, looking at how they've influenced fields like education, agriculture, and healthcare.
It's amazing how these seemingly abstract concepts can be translated into real-world actions that promote both individual well-being and broader social transformation.
Absolutely.
Join us next time as we continue our exploration of the fascinating world of anthroposophy. All right, so welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into anthroposophy.
I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So in parts 1 and 2, we kind of laid the groundwork. We explored concepts like spiritual science, reincarnation, karma,
Right.
and Steiner's vision of a threefold social order.
Yeah.
So now I think it's time to really see these ideas in action.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So out in the real world.
What's remarkable is how Steiner's insights have been put into practice across a variety of fields. We've touched on Waldorf education and biodynamic farming, but his influence extends even further into areas like medicine, the arts, and social initiatives.
Let's start with Waldorf education,
Okay.
since it seems to be one of the most well-known.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the most well-known.
Yeah, and widely practiced applications of anthroposophy.
For sure.
So for anyone listening who might not be familiar with it, can you give us a quick rundown of the key principles behind this approach to education?
Absolutely. Waldorf education, which Steiner helped establish in the early 20th century, emphasizes a holistic approach to child development.
Okay.
It's not just about academics, but about nurturing the child's physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual growth.
So it aligns perfectly with that anthroposophical idea of the interconnectedness of all aspects of the human experience.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that a child is like a whole person.
Exactly.
Not just
a brain on legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely. And that translates into a curriculum that looks quite different from what you might find in a traditional school. Waldorf schools place a strong emphasis on the arts, creativity, and hands-on learning. Think music, movement, storytelling, and lots of hands-on activities woven into all areas of learning.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It seems like such a natural and engaging way for kids to learn.
It is.
But I'm curious, Does this approach, like, come at the expense of academic rigor?
Right.
I know some people worry that, like, alternative education models might not fully equip students for college or the demands of, like, today's world.
That's a common concern, but it's actually a misconception.
Okay.
While Waldorf education might prioritize different skills and approaches, it doesn't neglect academics at all. Students still learn math, science, history, and language arts.
Okay.
But these subjects are often taught in more creative and experiential ways that encourage deeper understanding and engagement.
So it's not about making things easier, it's about finding more effective
Right.
and inspiring ways to teach the same material.
Right.
Helping kids connect with it on a deeper level.
Yeah. And research has shown that Waldorf graduates often do very well academically, especially in areas that require critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. Plus, they tend to be well-rounded individuals with a strong sense of social responsibility and a real passion for lifelong learning.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
It really seems like Waldorf education is like a testament to the power of applying anthroposophical principles
Yeah.
in a real-world setting.
For sure.
Like, it's proof that a different way of thinking about education can lead to amazing results.
Absolutely. And it's not the only example. Remember biodynamic farming?
Right. And it seems like biodynamic farming is gaining more and more attention these days, especially with growing concerns about, like, the environmental impact of industrial agriculture.
Yeah.
People are looking for more sustainable and ethical ways to grow food. Can you remind us of the core principles behind this approach?
Of course, biodynamic farming, which emerged from lectures given by Steiner in the 1920s, sees the farm as a living organism, a self-contained ecosystem that needs to be carefully balanced and nurtured.
Okay.
It emphasizes organic practices, meaning no synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers.
So it aligns with the broader organic movement,
Yeah.
but it seems to take things like a step further.
It does. Biodynamic farmers go beyond just avoiding harmful chemicals. They also incorporate specific preparations made from herbs and minerals,
Okay.
which they apply to the soil and compost to enhance fertility and plant health. They also pay close attention to natural rhythms like lunar cycles and planetary alignments, believing that these influence plant growth.
There's like a definite spiritual element to it.
Yes.
It's not just about maximizing production. It's about working in partnership with nature and recognizing the interconnectedness of all life.
Yes.
Almost like a sense of reverence for the land.
That's at the heart of it. And while biodynamic farming might seem a little out there to some, it's producing tangible results. Biodynamic farms are known for producing high-quality, nutrient-rich food while also promoting biodiversity and soil health.
So it's a fantastic example of how spiritual principles can translate into, like, concrete practices
Yeah.
that are both sustainable and beneficial for the environment
Yes.
and for people's health.
Exactly. And Steiner's influence doesn't stop there. He also had a profound impact on the field of medicine.
That's right. We touched on anthroposophical medicine earlier.
Yeah.
This is where Steiner's, like, holistic approach really shines.
It does. Anthroposophical medicine is an integrative approach to healthcare that blends conventional medical treatments with complementary therapies informed by those core anthroposophical principles.
Okay.
It recognizes the deep connection between the physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of a person, emphasizing a truly holistic approach to healing.
So it's not about rejecting modern medicine. It's more about broadening the approach.
Yes.
And recognizing that a person is more than just a collection of symptoms to be treated.
Absolutely. Anthroposophical doctors often incorporate therapies like art therapy, music therapy, massage, and eurythmy alongside conventional treatments.
Okay.
They also prioritize the patient-doctor relationship, seeing it as a collaborative partnership in the healing process.
It sounds like a very, like, patient-centered approach,
It is.
which aligns with the growing interest in, like, integrative and holistic medicine these days.
Yes.
People are looking for healthcare that addresses their whole being, not just their physical ailments.
You're exactly right. And anthroposophical medicine has gained recognition in many countries, with dedicated hospitals and clinics offering these integrative treatments.
Wow, it's remarkable to see how Steiner's insights, which initially stem from his, like, philosophical and spiritual work, have had such a tangible and widespread impact.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it shows the power of ideas to shape the world and the potential for a spiritual perspective to inform practical solutions to the challenges we face.
It's truly inspiring. It demonstrates that a holistic approach, grounded in spiritual principles, can lead to positive change across so many different areas of life.
So we've covered a lot of territory in this deep dive into anthroposophy, from like the foundations of spiritual science to its real-world applications in education, agriculture, medicine, and beyond. What stands out to you as like the most significant takeaway from all of this?
For me, it's the emphasis on interconnectedness that permeates every aspect of anthroposophy.
Yeah.
Whether it's the interconnectedness of the different aspects of the human being, the interconnectedness of humanity and nature, or the interconnectedness of different spheres of society. This idea is central to Steiner's vision, and it's a message that resonates deeply with me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's a message that feels more relevant than ever today.
For sure.
As we grapple with global issues like climate change, social inequality, and political division, anthroposophy reminds us that we're not isolated individuals,
Right.
but part of a vast web of life, and that our actions have consequences that extend far beyond ourselves.
It's a powerful call to cultivate greater awareness, responsibility, and compassion in all that we do.
And to recognize that our inner world and our outer world are inextricably linked.
Yeah.
As we evolve spiritually, we become more capable of creating a world that is more just sustainable and harmonious for all.
It's an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery and transformation, guided by the principles of wisdom, love, and interconnectedness.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into anthroposophy. We hope this has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to explore this rich and multifaceted philosophy further.
And perhaps even to consider how its insights might be applied in your own life and in the world around you.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.